What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Track 22. The archer finds his bow. Shout out to the Analyst for finding us a perfect fitting title for this episode. Brandon Cooks finally cooked in the game versus the Giants. Obviously, a big win for the Cowboys and one we expected, and we'll get into that later, as well as the Carolina Panthers game. And per usual, we're going to have our Week 10 recap and Week 11 predictions. But we have a little different format towards the end. Instead of our track hierarchy, we're going to do a little NFC, AFC playoff predictions and some rookie MVPs from the Rook, myself, and we'll close it out with our records of the week. But per usual, we've got the Shatter the Script segment, and we've got Stephen A. Smith, of course, talking about how Dak Prescott is not an all-time great Dallas Cowboys quarterback. So let's get into that right now.
All-time great Cowboys QB.
What? Ask that question again. I know I didn't just hear that question on national television. Ask that again, Molly. Who told you to ask that question? Ask that again. Ask that again.
Jeez.
Can I get it one more time, Molly?
Dak already an all-time great Cowboys
Oh
quarterback.
my God. Oh my God. What? Hell no. Let me. Really? That you put them up to this?
Really?
You put them up to this? You did it. You called the producers behind
The white man
and told them to ask this damn question. So let me get this straight. A name by the name of Roger Staubach, Sharp, 4 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl championships.
He's number 2.
That's 2 Super Bowl champions. Troy Aikman,
number
1, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Oh, and we're gonna mention all-time greats as if this dude, who's got 2 playoff victories in 9 years. In 9 years, 2 playoff. Is it 8 years? I think it's 8 years. It's 8 years, right? 2 victories in 8 years. In 8 years, we're gonna sit up here and ask for the straight face all-time great. I'm not trying to sit up there and say he might not arguably top 3. That don't make you great. That don't make you great. No. Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman are in another dimension, another stratosphere. We got to summon Captain Kirk and Spock and them brothers to look for him. Okay? To look for those brothers compared to Dak Prescott. You done lost your damn mind.
All right. Well, that's it from Stephen A. Smith. There's another minute or so where he's talking about that same topic. But I thought this was interesting, because technically we're all Dak disciples. We're missing the Romo sapien. But this is – I feel like it's too early of a question for me to answer. But I also feel like – and me and Ryan had off-the-record conversations about this for probably 2 or 3 years, that Dak Prescott was on pace to shatter all of Tony Romo's statistical records. And he has an opportunity this year to really shatter the script on playoff wins and perhaps maybe breaking the curse with the championship. But, do I believe that's going to happen? Not until it actually happens. It's not anything to say on Dak Prescott. It's just the way that things go for the Dallas Cowboys. You can have as good as a team as we did last year, as good as a team we did the year before and this year, and you just don't know what you're going to get. But things are looking up. We got the gauntlet coming up. There's a lot to prove for Dak Prescott. In my opinion, I think that Romo is one of an all-time greats. He's a franchise quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. No Super Bowl or not, and Dak Prescott is already there, and he's still got a lot of ball left to play. But the Analyst, what did you think?
I think it's really hard to compare Staubach to Aikman to Prescott. I think a fair assumption is Romo and Prescott. But I think the reason that I would say that you would consider him in there is because there's 4 quarterbacks that you think of when you think of the Cowboys. You think of Staubach, you think of Aikman, you think of Romo, you think of Prescott. Well, Prescott's got better numbers than all of them, but that's what I mean by you can't compare them because it's different eras. Like Aikman was a game manager in his era, but he did what he had to do to win. And Staubach was a leader and captain comeback, and there's just it's hard to compare them because they're not all the same quarterback. They're different guys. But for us, for this new era of Dallas football, and it really is about, like, if you consider QB wins as stat, Dak is going to probably go down. If he gets another extension, you have to put him in there as an all-time great for Dallas because there's the different eras. And I I agree with Jared. It's too early to tell. There's still a lot of script to be written for Dak Prescott, but what he's done up to this point in his career in terms of play style, I think you have to put him in that conversation. Maybe not rank them all over, Staubach and Aikman, obviously, but he's been a Dallas Cowboys quarterback for almost 8 years now. So I don't know. I feel like that's just another stupid argument that they're filling airtime for on ESPN. It's way too early to even talk about that. So my answer to that is basically to the question is it's unwritten. You can't go off that yet.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with Ryan. I think what this was a big attention grabber, a big clickbait debate, if you say, because the Cowboys beat a team by, almost 30-something points, outgained them by almost 500 yards, and you really don't have anything else to talk about. But to answer the question, I think you do have to consider him at least the top. I mean, obviously the top four. I'm really surprised Ryan didn't mention, the great legend, Quincy Carter and Vinny Testaverde and all of them. And some of those legends, and then Ryan Leaf and John Kitna and all of them. But if you think about it, like for us that have grown up watching those quarterbacks that I named, it's like some of these fans must not have been around during that time. And to see that to have a quarterback that keeps it competitive, and for the most part, I mean, half his career we've been in the playoffs, like you kind of have to start considering to be a top 3, top 4 quarterback for the Cowboys. And so that's just mine. Is like, yes, it's too early to tell, but if you make the playoffs again and do decent this year, you kind of have to put him in there just via, I mean, half his 8-year career, he's been in the playoffs, been competitive. Yes, they haven't won the big game, but, just stats, wins, teams alone. I mean, you got to start mentioning them in that conversation.
Yeah. And the one thing I would compare this to, and they don't even mention this guy ever, and we could ask the same question because he played a lot of playoff games in the 80s for the Dallas Cowboys, is Danny White.
Yeah.
If you're going to ask if these guys, he wasn't, I was just looking at his stats while y'all were speaking, and it's like, but he played a lot of playoff games, but his stats were, it's not a passing league, but they weren't bad. They weren't horrid, but it was very similar to a franchise quarterback. But, is he a great that he probably won more playoff games? I don't know how many playoff games I don't have his stats in front of me. But it's just like, like Ryan said, you're filling up airtime, and it's a question that shouldn't even be asked really right now. It should be a question for after he's gone.
Yeah. And you can open up an entire whole nother conversation talking about Dak's playoff games. I thought he won 4 playoff games, but he's only won 2. But, like you look at his losses, and it's like come to mind for me that the ones that he's lost, it's like he's almost never the reason we lose. The only one that I've ever chalked up for him is the 2 49ers games. But, I mean, you think about the other 2, the other one was
the Rams.
The Rams, where he played good. The Packers game, where he led the 2-minute comeback drive. In the 2016, his rookie year, 2 minutes left, he goes on the field and scores, and Aaron Rodgers just makes an Aaron Rodgers-esque play. And it's just like, talking about Super Bowls, in the last 12 years, I dare you to go look up who's won them. And it's really hard to find another quarterback by the name of not Brady and Mahomes that have won a Super Bowl. And it just goes to show how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. So, yeah. I mean, I know we haven't gotten close, but like I said, it's too early to tell. So, people forget that he's only in his 8th year, and how long it takes a quarterback to develop most of the time in the NFL. And the guys that they talk about, some of them haven't been there either. So,
this could be Lamar Jackson's year, and he's, what is he, 5 or 6 years into the NFL, and it's everybody grows.
He usually gets knocked out in the first round as well. So
yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's get into our Week 10 NFL recap. To start off the first game, The Analyst, you've got the Browns versus the Ravens, our noon game.
Yeah, so I'll start with the recap, but just to sum it all up, the Browns won 33-31. If you paid attention to this game, like I did, I got home from hunting and I looked at the score and I was like, oh yeah, the Ravens are up 14. And then I walked away and I came back and I saw the Browns won and I was like, what? So the way that happened basically was the Browns were down 14 with 8:57 to go. Lamar threw a pick six they were down 7.
Yeah.
Lamar threw a pick six. They scored on the pick six, and it made it 31-30. Their kicker missed the extra point, and the Ravens got the ball back, had to punt, which led to a game-winning drive from Deshaun Watson. So Watson looked really bad in the first half and played a very solid second half. He actually didn't throw an incompletion in the second half. Finished with 20 of 34, 213 yards, touchdown and interception. Not a great stat line, but he really came through in the second part of the game. And he connected with Amari at the end of the game, 6 receptions, 89 yards for Amari Cooper. And the one little note I have for the Browns is everybody talks about how good the Cowboys defense is, but the best defense in the NFL is probably the Browns. I mean, they hold people to very minimal yardage. And, with Watson missing 3 games and now they're sitting at, I think, 6-3, it's a total talking point of the defense. That Browns defense is legit. So moving on to the Ravens. Browns look like they should have lost this. Huh?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, people forget that Zadarius Smith is on the other side of Myles Garrett, too. I forgot that, and I was like, Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett, on the Browns. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. But I just
they're stacked on defense, and not a lot of people realize that. And I would only imagine what they could be if they actually still had Nick Chubb. But for the Ravens, I would just say the Browns look like they should have lost this game. But Lamar put them right back into the game with that pick six, which sucks, but, it happens. And in reality, this game was going to come down to which defense was going to make a play. And that last play came from the Browns because this is the number 1 and number 2 defense in the NFL, the Ravens and the Browns. And the Browns came up with the big play, and they were able to make it happen. So that's really all I have on this game. I think the Ravens will be fine. They're still a top team. But that AFC, that's the North. The AFC North is real tight right now. It's crazy. Almost every team is 6-3 or 7-2. I mean, the freaking
Steelers.
The Bengals are last in that division, and they're 5-4. So that's going to be a tight division to watch for the rest of the year. And what's even crazier is the Steelers, how bad they've been. They're 6-3.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
The worst 6-3 team on the planet.
Yeah, it's like the Vikings last year. They're going to get they might make the playoffs, and then they'll be absolute frauds. But I don't think the Steelers will make the playoffs. I think they'll finally fall apart eventually, but we'll see.
All right. You got Texans Bengals as well.
That's right. This game was almost the exact same game. It was funny because it almost ended the exact same way. So for the recap, Cincinnati rallied after going down 20-7. So Singletary scored a 6-yard run. He had a huge game. He had like 153 yards and a touchdown. The Bengals were able to cut that deficit to 2017 with a field goal from McPherson and then a deep touchdown to Jamar Chase. But then the fourth quarter came around and Burrow threw 2 interceptions on their first 2 possessions, and that kind of deflated the Bengals. So then the Texans go up in the game. They had an opportunity to shut it out, and Stroud in his own, I think on their Texans' own 25 threw a nasty interception.
It's
It was
terrible.
a horrible interception, and it gave the Bengals a chance. I mean, they basically took the ball over, I think, in the red zone. And what sucks about it is they had a wide open shot to Tyler Boyd, and he dropped a touchdown. And so they ended up having to kick a field goal, which gave Stroud and the Texans, I think, like 57 seconds or something. And 6 plays later, they get down the field to Dallas Cowboys. Noah Brown with like a 25-yard reception, and then Dalton Schultz up the middle for 26. They get it down there, and with a kicker that was literally signed like the day before, 3 hours before the game, nailed a 33-yard field goal and gave the Texans a dub here. And, you know, speaking on the Texans, C.J. Stroud's playing really good, but their defense is, you know, with DeMeco Ryans at the helm, has been really strong.
I agree.
And, you know, I'm not going to be shocked if the Texans make the playoffs. You go look at their schedule. You go look at the way they're playing. You know, they actually might make the playoffs. And the thing about the Texans, I think that's one that's going to put Stroud as the easy pick for Rookie of the Year. But two, you know, if I was a Texans fan, I think that's great. They're not going to go deep in the playoffs. But, you know, you kind of need the draft picks. So, you know, it's like a, hell yeah, we're good. But at the same time, it's like, kind of wish we were okay so we could have a better draft. But, yeah. And then the Bengals, you know, this is the thing about the Bengals is, like, they're a good football team. They just snapped. They got their 4-game win streak snapped, and it came down to 2 or 3 plays. But, I mean, now they can't screw up. If they want to get back in the playoffs, they can't. There is no room for error here. They're 5-4 in a very tight division, and the AFC is good. So, I mean, you've got in the AFC, I think the East is the Bills and the Dolphins in them. I mean, the Bills and the Dolphins still have a chance to make the playoffs. And then you've got the Bengals in the division with the Browns and the Ravens. I mean, they have no room for error because of their slow start, and it's going to be all on Burrow's shoulders.
Yeah.
And then now you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase popping up with injuries in a crucial game coming up this Thursday against the Ravens. So I think the Bengals are still a good team, but man, this loss right here, I think that really hurt them.
Yep, I agree. And Lamar Jackson is 7-1 against the Bengals.
Yeah, he kills the Bengals. So
yeah.
I have for the Texans game, I have is Noah Brown. Is he Megatron now? Like, what
breaking tackles,
dude. Like that one, that one. Like, I think I saw a video of it. The Bengals defender actually took his glove off and still couldn't make the tackle, and Noah Brown continued to run. I was just like, the last few games, I'm like, man, this guy is
different. Noah Brown.
He's a different guy over there in the Texas.
I think it's hilarious. Have you heard his, like, how he came out of Ohio State?
Yeah,
and how he got into the NFL.
Yeah, like Ezekiel Elliott basically like put his nuts on the table for him and was like, "Hey, dude, like get this guy. He's good."
Like he had
cool. He's gonna block for us at the receiver position.
Yeah, he had no like major stats at Ohio State, whatever. He like 2 years after he played at Ohio State.
Yeah,
he just was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to the draft."
Yeah,
and like Ezekiel Elliott was like, "You need to draft him." So the Cowboys drafted him and basically have used him for like 4 or 5 years. I never knew how he stayed on our roster, but they used him as like a blocking receiver. And then last year he got to play a little bit, and he was booty cheeks for us. When I think of Noah Brown last year, I think of the Jacksonville game. He basically tried to catch the ball and literally handed it to the defensive back, and then they beat us. But
that's what I was going to say. It drives me nuts watching Noah Brown go off for the Houston Texans. And people slide in my text messages saying that Dak Prescott couldn't do this with Noah Brown. That's pathetic. And I'm like, well, the last time I remember Noah Brown catching a pass in a Dallas Cowboys uniform was not catching a pass, but it was hitting him right in the breastplate between the 8 and the 5 for a pick 6 that lost us the first seed in the NFC East. So I was like,
Noah Brown also had to compete with Dennis Houston for the number 2 spot. So there's a reason he had to be on the field, is because
let's not forget
we're out there on the depth chart.
Yeah. And let's not forget. I mean, it's Simi Fehoko as well, but it's like on the other side of things,
I almost spit out my drink saying that name.
Yes.
High caliber wide receiver group.
It's not like Noah Brown's the only one out there. I mean, they got Tank Dell, Robert Woods, Nico Collins, John Mechie. I mean, technically, you don't know where he is in the depth chart on the Houston Texans. I'm not saying they have elite receivers. I'm just saying they have a bunch of featured guys out there, and it's hard to lose track. It's hard to keep track of who all's out there for the Texans, and you can get loose that way. So,
but we got the Lions and the Chargers now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
the shootout of the 325 window.
Yeah, I got the 325 slot. Lions 41, Chargers 38. My first note on this is classic Big 12 game. That's what
Yes.
it looked like. It looked like an old school TCU versus Baylor, or Oklahoma versus TCU, or back when West Virginia was in it, when, like Pat White or anything like that was on the team, where it was just like, all right, no defense is being played. That's super cool. That's what it looked like. And on my second note, I had all offense, no defense. The offense on both sides looked great. Even with, I know some of us may not be the biggest fans of Justin Herbert, but he did sling the rock. And then Jared Goff looked crazy good. And then the running backs, I really thought that the Lions were just gonna throw David Montgomery back in there and then stash Jahmyr Gibbs and make him like a role player almost. And they didn't. They said like, hey, we have two people that are good in the backfield. Let's use them both. And that's essentially what they did. And so that's basically, I basically don't have too much from that. It's just like, this was an all offense game. I thought the defenses on both sides were terrible. And I really don't understand how the Chargers front seven isn't better, because they have guys that are very good. And so I don't understand, especially with the defensive head coach. So his background, Brandon Staley's background, even though he goes for it on 4th and 2 every time on offense, his background is defense, and his defense has been terrible all year except for like I think the last 2 games. So that's interesting to see. And then the Lions defense looks like the Lions defense last year, essentially, where they just get ravaged all game. And so, I mean, it was just, and I think is Garner, one of their DBs went down. I can't remember who it was, but one of their defensive backs, I think, went down, which really hurt him. But still, I mean, Justin Herbert looked like, he was playing 7-on-7 out there. And it was just a bad defensive game. I mean, there's no way around it, but I guess good for the offenses. But that's basically all I have on that game is, all offense, no defense.
Yeah, I have a couple notes on that. Basically, Kellen Moore saw that it was going to be a Big 12 game and basically was like, yes. So then he's like,
scoreboard up.
Yes, he's like, we have to outscore them. It's back to my favorite days at Boise State. But, the Chargers spent all that money on defense, and they have like nobody in the middle. So the Lions.
I think I did read a stat that they're like top 2 in salary cap spent on just defense. I'm like, what? Like,
I don't know. To quote PMT on this, they have no linebackers. Like they literally, it's like they were put 4 defensive linemen out there and then like 8 defensive backs and just hope that you don't see the middle of the field. And that's like where Jared Goff is the best. So they, like personally for me, I knew this game was going to be a shootout. So I bet on Amon-Ra to have 80 yards and the Lions to win. And I looked at it in like the second quarter, and he had like 97 yards, and I was like, "Well, there you go." So, but you're right. It was a typical Big 12 game of like, who has the ball last, that's who's going to win.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it looked like the Lions on offense. Anytime, the thing was, there wasn't that many like deep balls thrown. It was like how you're saying there's no linebackers. Like, they caught the ball within like 10, like no pass was like over 10 or 12 yards. And then it was like you turn around, and it's almost like the receivers were like, "Oh shit, where's everybody at?" And then just broke off another 15. It was like, what's going on? Like there was no intermediate defense whatsoever from the Chargers.
If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I would be salivating at the opportunity to play the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
CD Lamb is going to absolutely eat up that defense. And our defense itself, which in fact doesn't have really any linebackers either, but we found a way to play with these hybrid safeties that are highest graded linebackers at each and every week. We found a way to play that. So, that's a good complementary team. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys would have their number, and I'm kind of taking from Ryan's card here because me and him had that conversation as well, and he was one that said it first. But yeah, this is just that's a team that I would definitely want to play, and I believe Keenan Allen had like 40 fantasy points or something.
Yeah,
something
no, he
crazy.
went off. He had 175 yards, I think 2 touchdowns on 11 receptions. I think I have him in my 2-minute drill, but he went ballistic.
Is Jared Goff the best quarterback in the NFC? Yeah.
You ask a Lions fan that, they actually will fight you on that. Trust me, I work with one, and he's pushing that before the season started.
I don't blame them. I think Dak and Jared Goff are playing the best in the NFC right now.
Yeah.
That is my opinion on that. All right. Moving on to the Broncos Bills. Here we go. So this one, I haven't really watched closely a Monday Night Football game in a while because they've been ass cheeks. But even this one, I was like, But I was counting on a Javonte Williams, James Cook breakout game. What I got instead was sit down to the living room and watching after a long day's work and seeing that James Cook had already fumbled and he's not playing anymore. And that 33-year-old Latavius Murray rose from the grave and is now getting 75% snap share or some stupid shit. So, and everybody's like, where the hell's James Cook? And I'm like, don't ask me. I don't know. And anyway, so this Bills offense, man, it struggled. And they just fired their offensive coordinator. And I think they got Joe Brady, I believe is the name of the new offensive coordinator. I don't know if it solves any of their problems because their offense is literally just Josh Allen, please save us, which we've been saying for 3 weeks now.
It's
and now
hero ball Josh Allen.
It's hero ball Josh Allen, but you can't be a hero like we've seen with every quarterback. You can't be a hero every single week. And even against the bad teams, it's the NFL. You know, you're going to have to play at a top tier level. It's not if you play down to their level, you're probably going to lose that game. I remember the Dak Prescott versus Denver Broncos games a couple years ago. Or 1 or 2 years ago, and it was like, what the hell is this? You know, and so Russell Wilson, you know, you can ask the question, is he cooking? No, he's not. And we'll probably get into his passing chart later, you know, with the analyst. But I mean, it's the same stat line.
I literally nailed the stat line.
Yeah. We were talking about it off record, and I'll let you talk about it later. But I mean, you go look at his stat line throwing underneath 200 yards with like 20 plus completions. It's just comical, you know. But I will say that Russell Wilson throw moving to his left, breaking the pocket and the goal line, and the catch by Cortland Sutton in the end zone was phenomenal. They got bailed out with the missed field goal at the end with 12 men on the field. That is the benefit of having that quick kick out there. They didn't call a timeout. They knelt the ball and then ran off quick and got the kicking group in there, and it caused 12 men to be on the field. And yeah, you can say that's luck or fate or whatever, but you know, the substitution, they made an error, and that's on the head coach. And then you got a second chance at a field goal and 5 yards closer, and it cost you the game. And it's sad boy hours for Haley Steinfeld and Josh Allen after that. But yeah, the Bills fall to 5-5, and I believe the Broncos are 4-1 since starting 1-4. Yeah, 4-1 since starting 1-4, and you know, things are starting to look up for Sean Payton and the Broncos, looking like a much better team. And Javonte Williams is finally. I think no one's talking about it, but when Breece Hall got up his snap count, everybody was like, you know, go for Breece Hall in all of your fantasy leagues. But nobody was watching Javonte Williams get 10 to 12 carries for like 5 to 6 weeks. And then the past 3 weeks, he's been getting a large workload at running back. And, you know, he's producing, you know, 3 straight 13 plus games in a row. So,
I traded for him in, I think, 2 of my leagues. Like
I got him from you and ours.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm fried, dude. You don't have to worry about me. My season's done. But it's the first. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, nobody is it. Nobody.
No, but yeah, they
circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Except
yeah, there we go.
They don't circle shit.
My one comment on this game is the Broncos have now beat Mahomes and Allen. So
are they?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I have on my notes. I have my first note is shit show, because that's what that game was. But the last point about the Bills is I think they need to be worried, and I think it's something we've talked about for a while now is they don't know their true identity. Last night, just from the running backs that actually, okay, the two top running backs, they had a 7-stringer in there that ran one, but from their two top running backs, so Cook and Latavius Murray, they averaged 8.4 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The James Cook broke out like a 55-yard run, which he fumbled as he was running, picked it up. Dude, if he did not somehow fumble that ball and pick it up, he's gone.
Yeah.
And
and they only had, between both of them, they only had 17 carries total.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I'm sorry, but you're playing the Broncos. There's no shot this game was ever going to get out of hand. How do you and if you go look at their touchdown drives, I went through the play-by-play on all their scoring drives. And what they did is they ran the ball well and then motioned off the pass. And I think that's what they need to do to take some of that pressure off of Josh Allen, because it seems like right now he's so jittery that it's just like, oh, just shit, throw the ball. And it's just a lot of bad passes. Like those picks this game were not good. Like, it's not like you're fitting in a tight window or doing something crazy. Like they were just bad passes.
Well, he should have thrown a third one. The first possession of the game they got, he threw to the sideline, and it was like a curl route to, I think, Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
Clearly intercepted, but he had 1 foot in. And then, like, a couple of plays later, he threw another interception. So he could have had 3.
Yeah. But I know we're all, pass happy, first down, stuff like that. But, like, I mean, if Tony Pollard was getting 8 yards a clip, like, all of us would collectively be like, run the damn ball. Like, why is Dak Prescott throwing it 30 times a game if we're getting a first down on every handoff, basically?
Yeah.
And so I think they just get almost too impatient. And
they're relying way too much on Allen, especially as turnover happy. How many times he clicks that turnover button? I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, make the job easier for your quarterback, not tougher. If you put it all on his shoulders, I mean, it's only going to get worse if you're an NFL quarterback, because the fall is greater than the come up. And people always forget. People also probably don't remember this play, but on the handoff when James Cook finally got back into the game, Josh Allen completely missed his breadbasket and fumbled the ball.
Yeah, that fumble was totally on Josh Allen, because he was already fumbling the ball before it was even before Cook even had control of the ball. So
and wait a minute, it could be the Madden curse.
There we go.
It could be the Madden curse. I totally forgot. He went on Bussin' with the Boys and was like, I don't believe in the Madden curse. And here we are sitting at 5-5 and with 13 fumbles and 11 interceptions through week 10.
Looking like shit too.
Like doo-doo. Nobody reverses the wagons the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. But
there we go.
So well, I don't even want to recap the Sunday night football game. Obviously the Jets lose to the Raiders. The Raiders, who are now 5-5. I will say that. Shout out to them. They're 2-0 since firing their head coach. And the quick comment I'll have on that, with McDaniels getting fired and all this guaranteed money that he gets for sitting on the couch, is he has a partner he can sit on the couch with and get rich with, and that's Jimbo Fisher for the Texas A&M Aggies. I've been saying this for 2.5, 3 years. He needs to go. That old style, pro style offense, it does not work in college football. He's outdated. Great recruiter. Tried to give up the play calling to the other guy. It was just time for a switch. And according to a person who I will not name, but he's a cool friend of mine that I actually work with, he said that the alumni gathered together what we owed him and donated it to the school. To the school to get rid of him over time.
Good old alumni. Is it Bobby Petrino time? And
I hope not.
No.
They need to go find a young-minded head coach that is in tune with what. No. Dude, I've been hearing that stuff. Please God, no. But somebody that does what I don't know, like what Bo Nix is doing, what Jalen Milroe is doing, what Quentin Ewers is doing, what Caleb Williams, like Shatter, name them. They're all on up-tempo, fast offenses with a lot of pre-snap motion.
I got the perfect guy for you, Cliff.
3 tight ends. Hand off. I'll take Cliff Kingsbury.
I wouldn't. You don't want that. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll take
Nathaniel
anybody.
Hackett, whoever just got fired, McDaniels, he's
Bill
available.
O'Brien.
He's
Yeah.
my only
Dylan
point on my only point on this game is I feel like this game was almost kind of rigged, because if you watch the game, this game should have been like 28-3 in the first quarter and a half. The Jets moved the ball and got within, pretty close to the red zone, like 4 or 5 of their first drives, and had to settle for field goals or punts due to just random ass penalties or some just absolute bullshit.
The refs.
And I was just like, how's this game close? Like, that's where, you say follow the money. This should have been a blowout. And it was just like, they would get close and be picking up. And it's like, oh, they're about to score. And it was like, oh, holding 15 yards. Oh, offside.
What's the saying?
Oh, yeah.
Vegas made the call.
Yeah. And so I was watching this game and I was like, how the hell is this game close? Like, the Jets were whooping the shit out of them in the first half. And then it was
basically it comes down to if you let the Jets score a touchdown, then you lose, because the Jets I think are the worst red zone offense in the NFL right now. I think they score a touchdown on 30% of their red zone drives.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I think even whoever was a commentator on it was like, I don't even know how the Jets are losing this game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well,
Troy,
you tell us. The first 3 drives were 8 plays, 49 yards, 9 plays, 40 yards, 8 plays, 14 yards, because they got it on basically the 25, and they came away with 9 points. And I'm like, how the hell do y'all do that? It was just if you go look at the play-by-plays, it was you get in here, penalty, and then the second drive, more penalties that backed them up, another holding on the tight end that wasn't even involved in the play, and then you go to that third drive, more just random ass penalties, and I was just like, this is a joke.
Yeah,
this is a joke.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on into our Week 11 predictions. We've got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Denver Broncos for Sunday Night Football. This is a fun little scrappy Sunday Night Football game. Honestly, I understand it isn't the best matchup you could get, but I don't feel like I see this matchup on paper very often. But you got the Russell Wilson, his team's 4-1, like I mentioned, coming into this game, and Joshua Dobbs over there in Minnesota, winning 2 games in a row, looking highly electric for the Vikings. The spread actually favors Denver -2.5 going into this game, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah. That may have changed after the Monday Night Football game, but this is a tough one for me. I really have had a hard time kind of debating on who I think is going to win this game, but I think that Josh Dobbs' magic might end this game just for maybe a week or so. And I think Sean Payton will have something schemed to counter Josh Dobbs. But it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a scrappy one. It's probably going to be, I'm saying 23-21 Broncos. So nice. I think Russell Wilson has his typical game, but if he minimizes his turnovers, very minimal mistakes can happen, obviously. So, Vikings don't really have much of a run game so far. And I do believe Jetta's returning. I think he is, but I don't know if it should help, but
I know he's coming off his IR stint, and it opens up the 21-day whatever window of practice. So I think he can play if he's healthy enough. It'll just depend on what they want to do. And I guess since they've actually been pretty well the past 5 weeks, I think I read a stat that the first team to go 0-5 and then 5-0 to start off the season. In the history of the NFL. And they're in the hunt right now, so I don't see why I wouldn't want to push back to see what happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then what were y'all who do y'all think's going to win this game? And then we'll move on to the rest of the predictions.
I have Vikings 23, Broncos 17. I think the Dobbs magic continues.
All right, the analyst.
I'm going to say Broncos 17, Vikings 14, and just another quick Russell Wilson prediction. He's going to throw for he's going to go 26 of 33, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they'll win. That's
efficient ball.
Yes.
1 completion over the middle.
Yeah.
What's the over/under on completions over the middle?
0.5. One touchdown that is thrown behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes, it will be a screenplay to Cortland Sutton. Then he'll take 30 yards for a touchdown.
There we go.
Good Lord. A little Amber Alert.
Sorry.
Let's all end the pod and go. But all right, the analysts. Thursday night football. We got a good one. Bengals versus the Ravens.
Yeah, this is the spread's -3.5 to Baltimore. They're playing. Baltimore's at home. I only have 2 notes on this. Is Jamar ready to go, including T. Higgins? And who's more mad about their loss last week? Jamar Chase, I think, played through a back injury against the Texans. Is he going to be good with the short turn, the 4-day window of Thursday? And then is T. Higgins going to come back? And then who's more mad about their loss last week, the Bengals or the Ravens? So I'm going to take the Ravens since they're at home, and I'm uncertain of if T and Jamar Chase are fully healthy. So I'm going to go 24-21 Ravens.
Gotcha. All right. And moving on to the next one, the medical guy, or actually, no, back-to-back, the analyst, noon, Steelers versus the Browns. The AFC, you got the AFC, what is it called?
The AFC North combos.
Yeah.
So the Steelers versus the Browns, this is another meh game.
It's an awful color game.
Yeah, this is a all-time awful color game. It would be even better if both teams wore their really bad throwbacks.
Yes.
But I'm going to say, let's see, I have the line is -3.5 Cleveland. I think you could take that. You could take the points for Cleveland. I don't think the Steelers are going to have a chance against the Browns.
Has LeBron made his picks yet?
I don't know, but LaParlay will probably agree with me on the Browns. I think the Browns win this game pretty handily, and they handle whoever's playing quarterback for the Steelers. I think Kenny Pickett's back, so I'm going to say the Browns win this game 27-14. I think if Deshaun Watson continues playing pretty well behind that stacked defense, they'll win this game pretty handily.
I got the Browns. Got to know, I got to go with my Browns. But I just had to make the switch, bro. And I got the Browns. The spread -3.5. So yeah.
Yeah,
bro, I love watching LeBron's picks, bro.
I think this is the perfect time to have just the absolute greatest throwback uniform, the whatever Jim Brown days, Browns uniform, and then whatever those nasty Steelers throwback uniforms.
Yeah, the Bumblebee ones.
Oh yeah, that would just be great, dude. But
and here they come out the tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But leading us into the next game, I got the 325 slot, the Seahawks versus the Rams. They have the Seahawks at -1. And so my prediction is going to be 31-28 Seattle. Obviously, this all depends on how well Matt Stafford is in his thumb. But they did have a bye week, so he should have gotten a lot of rest and been able to get back and whatnot. I'm expecting it to be a pretty high-scoring game because that's kind of what these two teams are. They have a lot of weapons on offense on both sides. Defenses are kind of suspect. I know they have some big names on each defense, but they hadn't played necessarily well all year. So I'm expecting big things from the offense. I think the over/under was like 50 something, 54.5 or something crazy. So I was like, Vegas must know something. I'm going to go with it. So I went with Seattle 31, Rams 28. And I need Puka Nakua to have a big game. Sorry if my reaction a while ago while one of y'all were talking was a little weird. I'm watching the Stars game on my phone, and they're playing the Arizona Coyotes, and one of the Coyotes defensemen took a 90-mile-an-hour puck off the front of his mouth, and literally, like most people grab their face, his initial reaction was to throw his gloves off and skate off the ice, and it literally looked like someone dumped a glass of just water, but it was just blood pouring out of his mouth. Like teeth were lying. Yeah, teeth were just laying on the ice. So I was like, oh shit.
Did you see the what happened to that one guy?
Yeah, Adam Johnson.
Oh my
God. Did you see the opposing players getting arrested because they're for manslaughter because they're deeming that it was, I guess, a malicious hit. Yeah. And like because when you watch the video, like if you watch it enough times,
looks like a karate kick, damn. Like
yeah, and that player has had a history of doing shitty things like that, and so that's nuts.
Yeah, I had to watch that video over and over again. I was like, look at the amount of freaking blood coming out. It was awful. Yeah. So RIP. But yeah, so all right, moving on to the Monday Night Football game, Eagles versus the Chiefs. This is the Super Bowl rematch. Chiefs are -2.5 favorites in this game. I think because this is a Super Bowl rematch that Taylor Swift is probably going to be at this game, which is why I have the Chiefs winning this game with the Swift effect, 20-17 Chiefs. Now, both teams coming off a bye. Jalen Hurts, just got done playing, and the Eagles just got done playing the Cowboys in a game that the Cowboys should have won. However, teams are, I believe, 2-8 or 9. They were 0-8 for a little while until the 49ers broke their losing streak. But teams don't do so well after they play the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm hopefully that applies in this scenario, and the Chiefs win a close one. I understand that the Super Bowl was very high scoring. Usually what happens when a team plays each other the second time is it's extremely low scoring when everybody thinks it goes high. So I've got the Chiefs 20 and the Eagles 17.
Yeah, I had a score for if Taylor Swift was there and if she wasn't there. If she is there, I have 28-21 Kansas City. If she's not there, I have 28-21 Philadelphia. So
yeah, that's a smart prediction right there. I like that. All right. Well, let's get into the tracking the boys segment. Obviously we had the Cowboys versus the Giants in the 325 slot. Game of the week. I guess they thought that the Giants would be superior, but Cowboys have had a combined, 80, 90-something points on the Giants, the two games that they played each other this year. But Cowboys win 49-17 in an easy one. And obviously, we're not going to have too much to say on this. Obviously, Ryan, you have the smoking that pack video, which we put on our Instagram per usual.
Yeah, we're used to smoking this Giants pack.
Yeah, we've smoking this pack before. This is like a nostalgia pack. You're like, I remember what this feels like.
Yeah, we constantly smoke the Giants. So
hey, we need to throw a pause in there somewhere, guys. Like, come on now. Hey, just at least one somewhere.
My God. All right.
No pause when it comes to the Giants.
The medical guy, I'll let you have first run at this for the offense of what you kind of saw, what you liked. Obviously, there really isn't much bad. So, I'll let you go first, and then Ryan, and then I'll go last.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much explaining because it's been the same thing. It has been the last few weeks now. Dak and
Ryan,
CD.
and then what do you think? No.
Yeah, Dak and CD. They were insane. And it was, I guess, cool in this game to see Dak spread it around a little more. Yes, CD was the main target, but everybody kind of got a touchdown here. And then the Cook show. I've been calling this for like 4 weeks now that Brandon Cooks was going to break out. And finally it happened. So I thought that was good to see. But really nothing bad to say about the offense. Yeah, Dak's one pick kind of looked like shit, but it could have been much worse. And he bounced back from it pretty quick and whatnot. So those were kind of my only two takes. Is Dak and CD were very good, how they've been the last few weeks. And then it was cool to see insert Brandon Cooks, remove Michael Gallup, and you see Brandon Cooks, can still spread the field by not just running straight, routes down the field. And I also think it's cool to see, and you've seen it in a couple of his touchdowns, is like Brandon Cooks does this weird high point of the ball, but he uses more of his body to high point it and not necessarily his arms, and somewhat like shields the defender off from getting there. So it's not, like Gallup or CeeDee Lamb that can, catch it on top of someone's head, but like he almost like jumps and turns his body and almost makes a pocket rather than, having to turn the other way and catching. I think it's really cool, and just another arsenal, for him to use going forward with spreading it out around the field and whatnot. So those are kind of my 2 big points.
I'll give you your flowers too, because last podcast I asked you, what are some ways that Brandon Cooks can get open for us? And we were talking about crossers, we were talking about, man-to-man coverage and stuff like that. And we saw that in full swing, over the middle of that throw, and we'll get into it, that throw from Dak, deep across the field on that crosser to Brandon Cooks. A lot of it has been in man-to-man coverage, the seam as well. So yeah, shout out to you on that one. Obviously Brandon Cooks, the archer finds his bow. The analyst, what did you have on the offensively for this game?
Yeah, just to build off of what Jacob was talking about with Brandon Cooks, is like the reason he's able to do that, and that's because that's the main reason he's been good for so long, is he knows he's not going to high point the ball. So he creates, I think to me, that's a great showing of like a high-end receiver, is like he's using his advantage of speed, and since he doesn't have the height, he's like, okay, I'm going to use my body to make this play, and now all they have to do is, or all the defensive back can do is wrap me up and get a PI, or he's going to have to defend me after I catch the ball. So I think Jacob's absolutely right. Brandon Cooks needs to be the complement to Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb. But going back to my notes, I have CeeDee Lamb is just emerging as what we all thought he should be, and what he should have been coming out of college. When he got there, and Amari and Michael Gallup was at his prime, he struggled a lot. He struggled with catching the ball. His attitude was on and off. Last year, even at the beginning of the year, he struggled coming into the season with some drops or some attitude problems. But CeeDee Lamb, when he gets 10 targets a game, he's just lights out. And then everybody's what I've been reading about is everybody's everybody's talking about how we just played the Giants, and like the Cowboys haven't played a good team. Well, last week he did it to the Eagles, and so did Dak. And so, they're on fire right now. There's not another quarterback out there, maybe one or two, that are playing at the level that Dak is right now. And, he's playing extremely well. Yes, he threw an interception in this game. It was not a pretty interception. But, if you go look at his numbers the last 4 weeks, he's thrown like 18 touchdowns and like 2 interceptions. What more can you ask for there? He's on fire. His throws are on fire. He's the best quarterback in third down, or on third down in this league. And to give even more flowers to him, it's without a running game. The running game is still a big question mark. But, I love to see that Brandon Cooks is finally getting involved. I think if we want to beat these teams that we're supposed to beat, and the teams that are going to be hard games like the gauntlet that we've been talking about in the next 4 weeks, you got to get Cooks involved, because they're going to find a way to double. It's kind of like on the interception, they played man down and double CeeDee Lamb. And so you're going to have teams that are going to start doing that, because, CeeDee Lamb gets 35 targets a game. So it's only
35.
It's only better for the Dallas Cowboys to get Brandon Cooks involved. And then, they're going to have to figure out something with Pollard, because Pollard's just – I'm so glad they franchise tagged him, because Pollard's just not there anymore for me. I've watched enough of him this year to be like, I don't really understand what he's doing. At first, I thought it was the scheme, but the more you look into it, the more you watch how the offensive line blocks, there are holes for him to cut into or for him to move into, and he's just like running straight in the back of our offensive lineman, kind of taking a Zeke approach where it's like run into the back of an offensive lineman and then get that second burst for 3 or 4 yards. And we've been talking about how Tony Pollard is not that kind of running back.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to figure something out. I don't know if it's what the issue is anymore, but those are my points for the offensive game. They did exactly what they wanted to. And then my last point is please get Schoonmaker off the field. I know we won 49-17, but that one drop pissed me off so much. I mean, he literally, it was a perfect play action. All he had to do was turn around and catch in the flat. Dak hits him right in the numbers, and he drops the ball, and he just like jogs, and they show a picture of his face, and he just looks like wide-eyed, and I'm like, get this motherfucker off the field, bro. Like, what?
Wait, but Ernie on Twitter says, give it time. Give it time.
All I can, anytime he's on the field, all I can think about is the left guard and right guard that's sitting at Buffalo right now, just hating life.
Yeah.
And how we could have him and just not be in this predicament to like, oh God, we hope Tyron Smith sleeps on the right side of the bed, this week so he can play Sunday.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's all of my offensive notes, and then defense, I don't even feel like we need to talk about it. They freaking dominated, and they should have. I mean, Tommy DeVito looked like a scared kid out there. So
well,
what you got?
Yeah, to close out on offense, you were leading directly into what I wanted to get into about Tony Pollard. The problem definitely isn't the offensive line, as we saw with Rico Dowdle, absolutely exploding, through the gaps and pause. And, he did a really good job. And every time you looked up, it seemed like he was getting 10 plus yards. He was very close to scoring on a lot of his carries. And then he finally got into the end zone. But I personally think that Rico Dowdle should get over 30% of the snaps going forward, just to get that mixture of change of pace backs into our offense. And it has nothing to do with, Pollard. There's a very small number of 3-down backs in the NFL. And those that are 3-down backs, there isn't a whole lot of, dramatic success, outside of Christian McCaffrey. I guess you could count. You can't even count Derrick Henry as a 3-down back anymore. Saquon is forcefully being a 3-down back, because of what they're going through in New York right now. But everyone else is kind of in that 60-40 spread, and Dallas just seems to just want to ignore it. There were plenty of opportunities in this game to get Lepke involved at the goal line, and we just opted out. And plenty of opportunities to get Pollard in the end zone where, we're getting forward momentum, getting to the one, but we opt to do something else. And I'm not complaining at that. That's fine. But I think it'd be good for your running back's morale, instead of play actioning it and throwing it to Jake Ferguson there on that goal line fade touchdown, which was great and awesome, and I don't dislike it. You could have gotten in a rhythm and, gone after getting Pollard in the middle and getting him a touchdown in the red zone. But, that leads into my next point with Jake Ferguson is he's 3 games in a row with a touchdown. He looks fantastic. He's turning into baby Kittle, just like we predicted in the preseason. I love every time he gets the football, I'm excited to watch. His run after the catch, his route running, his zone looks a whole lot more smoother. I'm sure Dalton Schultz was very good at finding his zone, but it wasn't much other than that. Whereas Jake Ferguson's breaking routes over the middle of the field, and when you catch it, you're like, oh crap.
He's just a lot more versatile.
Here comes jukes, jab steps, stiff arms, hurdles. You don't know what's coming after you. Those are my 2 highlight points. I'm glad I let y'all guys talk about CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Tony Pollard and addressing those things. But I wanted to shout out those 2 guys, Dowdle and Ferguson. And Tyron Smith is an animal. Whenever he's back, whenever he's playing, he's insane. He is a clamp god. Shout out
it's just like that. It's just like his holding penalty during the game. It's exactly what I told you all over text. That's the first. I don't even know if you could call it legitimate, but anytime Tyron Smith gets a hold, it's just that the fact that he's manhandling somebody, and they kind of get away from him a little bit, and he just like clamps his hands down and literally doesn't let them move. And then everybody's like, "Oh, I guess that's a hold." And it's
the
like,
only reason it was a hold.
Yeah. Like he has a switch in his brain. It's like when his hands close, it's like they don't open until like whistle's blown. Okay. It's like he goes into like this zone.
Return to huddle.
Yeah, it's like oh, okay, I'm back. And it's like
he's like the Terminator. It's like when his arms open,
grab a
you
hold.
hear like you hear his arms go when he opens up.
You see his arm go over.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. What even makes it better is he's got, the big, basically knee braces on his arms, so it makes him look like
they are knee braces.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the only reason it was a hold on him in that play is because, when Dak Prescott flushed the pocket, it just kind of like, oh, shit, he's going this way, let go. And it was like, hold. And I'm like, all right, well, that's the only reason why. He had him clamped otherwise.
Anytime, I'm telling you, if you watch the games, from now on, just pay attention. If Tyron Smith gets a hold, they'll show the replay. And almost every time it's like, I don't know if that was a hold. So
Yeah.
It's like a sympathy hold.
All right. Dak on Track, one of our favorite segments of the podcast for the Dak cycle. We've got his next gen stats passing chart here. I'll bring it up in just a second. It's down here. Here we go. There it is. All right. There we are. 26 of 35, 404 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception with a plus 14.0 CPOE percentile and a rushing touchdown to add to that. We've got the absolute heave, 40 yards down the field to the right side, 40-plus yards. And then, of course, dots all over the field. This is the third or fourth week in a row that we've seen just green dots everywhere. Middle of the field throws. You see a lot of crosses. There's the crossing route from Brandon Cooks, just beneath 40 yards there on the left side. That was a magnificent monster of a throw, taking an absolute shot to the upper body from the defensive tackle there as he was throwing it. That's just what we like to see. I actually, thank God. So I got back from a hunting trip and I did not see the interception. I quickly ran to go take a shower because I smelled like dog shit. And I came back and it was a terrible drive. You threw an interception. So I didn't see it. And thank God the clip's not anywhere because everybody's hush hush about Dak Prescott throwing interceptions this year. But what I want to give Dak on a grade for this is A+. Whatever letter you can find in the Greek alphabet in translations, lost history, extraterrestrial beings out there that have a different alphabet for a high superiority grade. That's what I'm giving him for this game. And it's about time that Dak Seipel gave a very high ass grade for Dak Prescott in his performance. He's, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks in the last 4 games. Just for all those reasons, hitting the ball over the middle of the field, those long deep shot touchdown passes, minimizing the turnovers, green dots everywhere. Infinity. A+ for Dak Prescott. And the analyst?
I've got nothing to follow up here with other than an A+. I mean, I said it earlier and I will say it again. He is playing top tier right now. He's cooking on a different level than he ever has been. He's, the only time I can think that he was playing at this level was in 2021, right before he hurt his calf strain. But he's just playing at a level that is unmatched right now in the NFL. And, like I said earlier, everybody's like, oh, bad teams. And it's like, yeah, the Giants are bad, and he had a good game against the Giants. But last week he played the Eagles and was literally inches away from beating them. So he's playing top-level quarterback play right now, and he's got better stats than your daddy's favorite quarterback. So he's balling out, and this is what he needs to do in order for us to win games. And I hope this stretch that he's on right now continues to grow and that he continues to play at a high level, especially when we start getting into these tougher games. I mean, these next 3 games, he should rip up every team he plays, but we need him to be humming on all cylinders come that 4-game stretch later in December. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Just on the same page as all of y'all. Give him an A+ as well. Like you said, this is an incredible stretch he's on, and I think it makes it better that I don't want to say makes it better, but makes it more profound that he doesn't have a running game. Back when I guess he was in 2021, he still had a little bit of a running game and whatnot, but right now it's like the running game's unexistent or non-existent. And then on the pick, I mean, they just did a really good job in coverage, to be honest. I mean, they flashed like they were doing man, and then he broke off. And like Ryan was talking about, what people are going to start doing is they're going to start flashing like they're going to be in man, and then breaking off into like a more of a zone coverage or more of a shadow over CeeDee Lamb. I mean, yeah, I thought it was a good disguise more than anything. And so I mean, it was just, a good disguise, bad throw and whatnot. But I think, just to follow up with y'all, with what y'all said, I mean, it's got to be an A. And he made 2 bad throws this game. It was a pick, and then he threw one that almost could have been a pick as well. And if we look in the last 4-ish weeks, that's how all his games have been. Is he hasn't had more than 1 to 2 bad throws a game. So hopefully he keeps it up and keeps it going, and we see more of this Dak Prescott.
And not to be a stat watcher, but since 2018, there are only 2 quarterbacks in the National Football League that have more than 10 games with 400 plus yards passing, and that is Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. So very interesting stat. And I believe that Dak Prescott threw for over 400 yards. I don't remember the specific stat line, but I think it was more than all the franchise quarterbacks from Dallas Cowboys combined, which was 9.
Yeah.
Which I believe most of those games were probably Tony Romo, which is insane. So,
but to add on to your stat, Mahomes has 10, Prescott has 10. All of your other favorite quarterbacks combined together have only 5.
That's right. The next closest. That's right. Well, yeah, but like Jacob said at the beginning of the season, don't let your Cowboys get caught stat watching. So, and we we just want a Cowboys W more than anything. Speaking of 6-3 Dallas Cowboys face the 1-8 Carolina Panthers at AT&T Stadium, 3:25 on Fox this upcoming Sunday. And we've got our predictions geared up for you guys. The medical guy, I'll give you the first go at it on your predictions.
This should be short and sweet right here.
Short and sweet, baby. Come on.
Yeah. Essentially, my keys to success are going to be the same as last week. And my prediction is going to be a 35-10 again. 35-10 Dallas Cowboys. Same things. Don't get too cute. I still would love to see them throw to Cooks more often and get him and keep him involved. Get Pollard going and Dowdle going, and figure out a good balance of how, like, hey, let's see if and that's what I think the Cowboys have done in the last few games. It's like, hey, let's see if this works and let's run with it. Like, hey, we're doing well on first down, passing the ball a lot. Shit, let's keep doing it. And I think, it would be good to see like them try some different things out with the running back situation just to get some type of momentum in that part of the game. But those are basically my keys to success and predictions. And my mamas don't let your Cowboys, same as last week. Mamas don't let your Cowboys get hurt in this game.
That's about right. Yeah. And the analyst.
That's right.
I don't have anything to add to that. I think the defense will eat up Bryce Young, no pause, and I think that
they're gonna be munching on Bryce Young. What are you just saying?
I think our offense will score 40+ points again. So my prediction for this game, I said 65-7 for the Giants game. I honestly thought at one point that was going to happen, but for this game, I think the Cowboys will win like 35-13 or something. A couple sympathy drives at the end for the Panthers, but I mean, my mom still think your Cowboys was the exact same as Jacob. Just in this little stretch that we have, let's win some games. Let's stay healthy. Let's find a healthy mix and just get ready for when we play the Eagles at home. not to look ahead. We got to play each game. Something crazy can happen in the NFL, but let's just win these 3 games, come out healthy, and then focus our attention on the Eagles. So
yeah, and I've got the Cowboys winning this game 31-16. My key to success for this game is that the offense protects the football. We get a little bit of the ground game working between Pollard and Dowdle. And then defensively, to get pressure to the quarterback, get that young rookie, rattled up and see how that goes from there. But I've got 31-16 Dallas in this game. And my Mama's to let you Cowboys play down to the competition. Panthers are on strike about their team right now, a literal NFL protest about how bad their team is. So don't let this be the game to get their hopes up, which we've seen before with the Arizona Cardinals. That wraps up tracking the boys segment, and now we'll move on into the 2-minute drill, hosted by the medical guy and the analyst. Providing the medical analysis from the medical guy and statistical analysis from the analyst. So,
nice.
Anal Med,
right.
Let's get
Anal Med, team Anal Med. All right, let's get this going. The 2-minute drill. Like we've been doing, I'm going to go through this list, and then we're going to go into one specific injury and talk about it a little bit. This list is actually a little longer than what I thought it was going to be. I didn't really think or hear of too many crazy injuries or anything. But we'll start it off with Taylor Heineke, XFL stud. Came out of the game with a hamstring injury this past weekend. Now Ryan's favorite quarterback, Desmond Ridder, has to be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons again. T. Higgins, he was out this week, and I think it was a soft tissue injury as well. Just keep an eye on him, especially he played, one game coming off those broken ribs and then, got injured in the next game. Next is Trey Hendrickson. He did have a little knee hyperextension during that game this past Sunday, and he's listed as questionable. They're still waiting on imaging and stuff like that to see what's all going on. Then we have what I kind of called when it happened was Kevontae Turpin, shoulder injury, most likely probably some type of AC joint sprain or something like that. But just the laws of inertia and things like that. Little guy playing against a lot of people bigger than him, sooner or later you're going to get popped. And normally it doesn't work out for the little guy. And next we got Nico Collins. I never really could find what exactly he was hurt with, but he was rolled out last game. They're projected to have him back in this week. Damian Pierce, same thing. Didn't really come out with too much information on his injury, but he's projected to be back. Keenan Allen, he's listed as questionable for his shoulder. I don't know if all of y'all saw the infamous picture of him after a game with his clavicle sticking basically straight up out of his shirt. That's due to probably a previous injury that he's had earlier in his career, and he just never had surgery on it to tack it back down. You can play with it, however, and it's really just due to your pain tolerance. If you're okay with it, you can play. Next, Gerald Everett. He's listed with a back injury, questionable. A&M star Davon A-Chain. He's coming off the IR this week, eligible for his 21-day schedule or whatever with practices. I doubt they play him this week, but you never know. If so, it'll probably be some type of load management. Pause. And then we have Alexander Madison. He'll be out this week with a concussion. Marshawn Lattimore over on defense for the Saints, I believe, high ankle sprain. He'll be questionable. Mr. Injured guy, Michael Thomas, he had a knee injury. Apparently, it was worse than what they expected. He's having imaging done. He'll be questionable, most likely out. Next on the Saints, they had a slew of them. Derek Carr had the shoulder injury, which we all talked about, a few weeks ago, if he really should have hurried back from that. And he suffered a concussion in the same game. So get ready to see more of some famous Jameis Winston. And watch your crab legs. And next we have Baker Mayfield. He's got a thumb injury. I don't think it's anything too serious, but we've seen, like we've talked about with previous pods and quarterbacks, that thumb on that throwing hand can really affect it a lot. And then last, and the one I'm going to go into and share my screen with, it's going to be Leighton Vander Esch, just because, he's Dallas Cowboy. We've kind of seen him, play for the last few years, and kind of see him bitten with the injury bug and whatnot. But I'm going to just show a picture, not the video of the injury and whatnot, but I'm going to share my screen right now. This is just kind of a overall general picture of the vertebrae and the spine. This, however, is more lower than what he's got going on. What they've deemed him with is called cervical spinal stenosis. So, just breaking down the word cervical, that deals with your cervical vertebrae, which is from basically, if you could feel kind of on your neck where you have like that little like palpable bone hump kind of on your back. And if you go up to basically the base of your skull, that's where your C1 through 7, that's where your C1 through 7 kind of remain. And so, obviously spine, we know what that is, but stenosis, that word means basically it's getting smaller. So basically the vertebrae or the spacing around your spinal cord and your vertebrae as well, that spacing is getting smaller, and the amount of space you need between there to function correctly is now being is being messed with. And so that's why he's had these history of neck injuries. And so there's many different treatments, and like we've talked about before, he's kind of into that point where it's like we need to start looking at quality of life rather than playing football. We need to be able to see like, hey, can he, do these things like you saw on his Instagram, go hunting and be able to turn his head to the right or the left and look out a window. He's able to, play with his kids when he has kids and stuff. And so this is a really serious injury. Obviously, spine injuries are really serious. However, once you start getting up into the cervical spine, C1 and C2, it starts to get, life or death type stuff, because those are what's called it basically, your axis and whatnot. Basically, your skull sits on your C1 and then your C2 is right under it. And it gets really serious when it gets up into there, because then it becomes more of, looking out for quality of life, but also hoping for, you don't have to do surgery that may cause paralysis, or surgery that fuses something together and then all of a sudden you can't turn or do anything like that. And so kind of my take on it is that be ready for a report to come out to say that his career is going to be over. This is one of those that, and I've mentioned it a couple times, one wrong hit and you could end up in a wheelchair. One wrong hit and you're on a stretcher and you're not able to give a thumbs up. And so it sucks. It sucks for him, sucks for his family and stuff like that. However, it's to do what's best in his interest for quality of life. Obviously, this is a game, and once it crosses over that, we really got to start looking into the safer measures for, what he does later on in life. And I think I read a report that he's actually been in the game long enough that he'll actually receive that full pension from the NFL, which will be awesome for him. Yeah. I know a lot of that stuff kind of gets swept under the rug, but we see with all these different types of football players how your body can react after years of all that trauma, whether you do have a bad injury or not. Just a violent sport overall. And so tough, day for him, tough season for him. And hopefully it all turns out well. And, we just want to, pray for his, well-being and his health and whatnot. But that was kind of one that, we've seen him get drafted, have a great season, get hit by the injury bug. We've seen his play diminish from this injury. We saw the year he came back and we were like, man, he's just a step slow, or he's not making that read quick enough. And it's all stemmed from when he had him in college too. And so just to see it, it felt, I don't want to say personal, it felt more personal because we saw him from a rookie all the way until now. So, just wanted to shed light on that and whatnot. So, and to move off of more of a grim point,
I don't know how I'm going to follow this up.
We have the infamous DB list. Okay. And I do have an honorable mention. Okay. Sorry. my Aggie fans.
Yeah, I
But
just have a feeling.
honorable mention, I have to go with the A&M fans for the DB list and the Booster Club. You put a lot of money. You put a lot of money into having a coach that that it came from a place where he won a lot, recruited well, everything worked out for him. Y'all got him, and then you got a white Kevin Sumlin, and it just wasn't great. So I feel for y'all, but that's my honorable mention. Yeah, but the actual DB list, and I don't know if y'all saw this because I just saw it literally right before the pod. We started the pod. Okay, the DB list is going to be the Raiders and their media/communications team. Okay?
Oh God.
I saw this.
Yeah, this is nuts to me. So they put out a post about honoring military, and they had someone on their team. His name is Isaac Rochelle. His brother is for Air Force, also plays football or played football there. And they were putting out this big, cool video about honoring military, making it relatable to athletics, kind of showing all the stuff they did. And they released this video at 1 o'clock Central Time. Approximately 2 to 3 hours later, they released Isaac Rochelle from the Raiders.
Oh,
and,
wow.
He then quote tweeted that video and said, "Hey, this couldn't be more bad timing." And I was like, "Yo, that is brutal." You got to just be like, "Hey, we'll keep him up. We'll keep him on a team for another week. We'll do something." But it literally is like, and I was like trying to get all the times, right, and see if I was right and whatnot. And it was like 6 hours prior they put up that video, and it has like him, his brother, pictures of his parents, like, the whole shebang that, the NFL does and whatnot. And then 2-3 hours after that, it was like he put out a post like, "Hey, I've been released from the Raiders." And I was like, dude, that's a tough look. Like, that's so bad. Like, someone's got to be like, "Hey, we're cutting this guy today. Maybe we don't put out this video honoring his brother who's in the Air Force, man."
Maybe we just release a good old fashioned Pat Tillman video.
Yeah,
and just call it a day.
Yeah,
honor a soldier, and then
you've got over 100 people either playing or on staff. Like, I'm sure another one of them has a brother or uncle or a parent that was in the military.
Somebody.
Like, anything besides like, "Hey, we're gonna put this guy out there and then we're gonna kick his ass off the team." Like, that's so bad. So that's my DB list: the Raiders and just their overall line of communication.
That's brutal. Ryan?
Yeah. I'll pass it over to Ryan for the statistical.
All righty. Week 10. We've got your best analytics spread stats of the week. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Noah Sloppy Seconds Brown. He had 7 receptions, 172 yards. Back-to-back game to the 150-plus for the Texans. He is wide receiver 1 of the entire league, clearly. So next you have his throwing partner, CJ Stroud Boy, 356 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception with back-to-back game-winning drives. This guy can ball easily, probably the rookie of the year. And then next I've got the Dak Knight Rises. He's 404 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Nobody wants to talk about it, but he should be at least considered for MVP as of right now. He is putting up better numbers than your favorite quarterback, and y'all won't say shit because he's got a star on the side of his helmet. Next, we've got Brock Cornman Purdy on his bye week. I don't know if y'all saw, but he was baling corn and cutting up some corn, making sure he was getting ready for the harvest.
Doesn't he drive a Hyundai?
I don't know. Don't care. His dad sells pools. But he was awoken now that he has all of his boys. He's got Trent Williams out there and everybody else. He had 296, 3 touchdowns, and the Niners are back on track. And then Keenan Old Man Allen. That guy was balling out once again in the Kellen Moore Big 12 shootout offense. 11 receptions, 175, and 2 touchdowns. Big game for them. So then you got Geno, don't right back. He had 370 yards and 2 touchdowns and balled out and led a game-winning drive. I still think he's very average.
Yep.
You know, nothing crazy there. And then you've got the Acha. Brandon Cooks showed up big time for the Cowboys finally. 9 receptions, 173 yards, and 1 touchdown. Big time game from Brandon Cooks. Let's hope he keeps cooking. And then next you've got TJ Valhalla Hawkinson. 11 receptions, 134 yards, and 1 touchdown. He looks like a Viking. He plays for the Vikings, and he scored and played like a Viking with his bald-headed ass quarterback Josh Dobbs.
Whoa, yes.
And now for my favorite part. I literally called this stat line almost to the exact T, but I'm going to show you the Russell Wilson passing chart.
Oh God!
And it's just as brutal as I've been saying. Exactly. Shield your eyes, children. It's that bad. So I think in the last podcast I was on, I said that he would throw for like 23 of 26, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And in this game, he was 24 for 29, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Bro, look
and
at the right side.
And a touchdown behind the line of scrimmage. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at the right side of the field.
Look at the middle. It's always the same. You got 1 incompletion in the middle of the field. Everything else is either right behind the line of scrimmage or 5 yards in front of it.
He's got 4 completions behind 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. No, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 behind the line of scrimmage. No,
but I'm talking behind 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's got 4 completions.
Yeah. So,
like he's starting at negative 5 yards.
Yeah.
Grabbing the ball with a shotgun and just chucking it to the right.
This is a classic Russell Wilson pass chart. This is what I've been saying for years, is that he's just been so shielded by the defenses he's had and the fact that he just like cooks for 4 weeks, and then this is the passing charts he puts out in his career. So congrats to Russell Wilson on the win, but you're not hiding from me. I will expose you at all points and turns. You are not who you think you are, and you can stand in the middle of the field with your arms out and embrace God, but God knows.
The only thing I can think of with Russ Wilson, the most cringiest TikTok he did is one of the ones that was like things I like, and he's like,
yeah.
I'm like, brother, you've got to stop, man.
Yeah,
He's got
to slap the shit out of you.
Yeah, he's like 34, dude. Like you got 2 kids, and one of them's not even yours. So let's act like a good father figure for 2 seconds.
Super future.
Super future.
Oh,
that's awesome.
So that is my stats of the week. A lot of boring games out there this week, I must add, but these are some highlights, and Russell Wilson tried to hide from us, and he couldn't go very far. So,
gotcha.
Very nice. The 2-minute drill presented to you by the medical guy and the analyst. Here we go. I've got some a little change up here. Let's see if this works. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
All right, we got a little background music. Let's make it real for a moment here. Everybody settle down. All right. Got a little background music for you guys on this Week 10, the Rooks Looks Week 10 recap. Start Amari Cooper, Cleveland wide receiver.
I feel like I'm on a jazz radio channel. It's like, welcome to 95.7.
95 tunes. I feel like I'm listening to a Lonely Island song. That's pretty good. Here we go. Amari Cooper, Cleveland wide receiver. I told everybody to start him. 15.88 PPR points, 6 receptions, 98 yards. Productive when Watson plays historically. So I also told people to start Rachaad White, Tampa Bay running back, 17.80 PPR points, 20 carries, 51 yards, 2 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. So 2 back-to-back green beans on the starts. I told everybody to sit Dalton Schultz, Houston tight end. He ended up with 11.10 PPR points. He had 4 receptions for 71 yards. He had that 1 catch for 25 late in the game, which kind of made his night. Otherwise, it would have been a under 10-point performance, but not bad from Dalton Schultz there. But I did tell people to stash him and start him if you weren't able to stash him. So, but sit Jacoby Myers, Las Vegas wide receiver, 4.10 PPR points, 2 receptions, 21 yards with Aiden O'Connell at the helm. It's back-to-back games where Jacoby Myers has kind of come back down to earth. The sleeper of the week from week 10 was Jahan Dotson, Washington wide receiver. 0 points, 2 targets. I don't know what the hell went on there. Apparently, actually, I know what happened. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson got apparently all the catches of this game. And I played against Brian Robinson right after I traded him, so that's great. Moving on to our week 11 stardom sit-ems. Although I was, 3 out of 4, if you want to count the sleeper. Sleeper's kind of a gray area, but 3 out of 4. So that's 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I've finally gotten a rhythm. So let's see if I can continue that in week 11. Start the Miami running backs, A-Chain and Mostert versus the Las Vegas defense. This is kind of contradicting the Cousins' claims of A-Chain. They kept him on the IR an extra week for the bye week, and I'm assuming he is back in full swing this week. Nonetheless, I think off the bye, no matter what, both these guys are pretty good flex or start plays for your lineup. Start Joshua Dobbs, Minnesota quarterback, versus the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football. With the return of Jetta to his lineup, I think Josh Dobbs could provide a lot of magic. However, I don't think the magic coordinates into a win, as I predicted the Broncos, get this victory. But maybe a good fantasy day. Sit Pittsburgh running backs. They just announced Jaylen Warren as a starting running back for the Steelers. Najee and Warren, the combo, they've had 2 good games in a row. Enough to make you think you should start them when they're going against the Cleveland defense this week. So don't torture yourself by starting them and going, man, they had 2 good weeks in a row and now all of a sudden they suck again. Well, it's called blue balls. So don't start the Pittsburgh running backs. And then finally, the last 2, Adam Thielen, Carolina wide receiver versus Dallas at home in AT&T Stadium. On paper, this is a blowout. There's turmoil in Carolina over the head coach play calling and offense. He's had 2 bad games in a row. I just don't think he's gonna produce well against Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland. But been wrong before. And then your sleeper of the week is Calvin Ridley, the Jacksonville wide receiver versus Tennessee. This is following a blowout where the Jacksonville Jaguars lost to the 49ers 34-3. Perhaps he shows up to make Jacksonville look like a contender. However, Kirk will continue to produce week to week versus man-to-man coverage. But Tennessee has weak defenders. This would be a good game, a good get back into the rhythm game for Calvin Ridley for your sleeper of the week. And now let's bring it down to the heave of the week.
That was your Rooks. Start him and sit him on 95.7.
Yeah, hold on. This is
Ladies, grab your. Oh.
That was the Rook 95.7.
Yeah.
There you go.
Looking at you hot and sexy.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to our heave of the week. This is our Dak Prescott to Michael Gallup throw here. And this is on a different website, so I apologize if there's an ad. But here we go. Let's go pre-drop back. How about that?
Yeah, play-by-play.
Play-by-play. All right. Everybody can see it. Make sure the volume's all the way down so the heave can be intact. All right, here we go. 28-7 ball game here. Just under 5 minutes to go left to play. The Dallas Cowboys lead by a couple of touchdowns. 1 second left on the play clock here. The screen has still not faded away from its menu. It finally goes away and heave. Michael Gallup finds his rhythm, number 13, the lucky 13, and celebrates with the wide receiver 5, Jalen Tolbert, who's supposed to be starting over Michael Gallup. But Michael Gallup makes the catch anyway. Fantastic throw. Let's watch it again here on the replay. Dak Prescott collects his feet and gallops, if you will, towards the boundary of the sideline on the backup scrub wide receiver or cornerback for the Giants there. And there is Schottenheimer on the post-game press conference. But that is your heave of the week. Dak Prescott to Michael Gallup on the 41-yard touchdown. When we all thought Gallup was washed, he comes back with half a field of a touchdown. So congratulations.
Yeah, I sent it in the group, but about him being next gen stats fastest time or fastest running speed this week. So if that's that's
odd.
very odd. Everybody must have been jogging around this week or something.
That's right. Well, let's get into our kind of a new little deal for this week. Now that we're past the halfway point in the season, we have the NFC AFC divisional winning predictions by the medical guy, and the analyst. So the medical guy, you have the AFC. So I'll let you go first on who you think will win each division.
All right. So going with our divisional winner predictions. So out of the AFC North, I've got the Ravens. I think they're one of the most complete teams in football right now. I think if Lamar Jackson and that offense can learn how to just close out games, I think they'll be just fine. I don't think, even though they lost to the Browns, I don't think the Browns eventually have the firepower to keep up with them. And then the Steelers are one of the teams where I don't know how the hell you are 6-3 or whatever. And so I just don't get that. But I got the Ravens coming out of that division. AFC South, this one might be a hot take, but I have the Texans coming out of that division, winning that division.
Brutal for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think they're playing really well right now. And it seems like they've got a lot of good pieces down there, a lot of complementary pieces. And I think they're coached by what seems to be a very good coach. I would honestly, at this point right now, just say it's a shoe-in for Coach of the Year, because it's just a polarizing opposite of what it was last year. All the games that they play seem fun. They, offense or defense, like I don't mind watching the Texans. Last year, I couldn't get them off the screen fast enough. And for me, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, they to me are one of the most hot and cold teams out there. Yes, I know they're 6-3, but it looks like they've got to play perfect to win, and they can win well. And if they don't play perfect, they don't look very good at all. Like they don't look like that team that can not have their best day and win. It seems like when they win, it's always been like everything is clicking. Calvin Ridley's getting a lot of touches. Christian Kirk is doing well. Travis Etienne is having one of these crazy ass fantasy football stat lines. And then it's like when they're not cooking, it's like, bro, what are they doing? Right. They just don't look that great. Now, granted, they did play the 49ers, which we've seen can kind of be a buzzsaw and whatnot, but I just haven't. I mean, they look bad against, the Texans. They didn't look very. I mean, the Texans beat them earlier. They look bad against San Francisco. Yes, they beat the Steelers. They didn't look great there. They barely beat the Saints, and I'm not discrediting anything, but I mean, they've now got to go. So they play the Tennessee Titans next, which I don't think they're a very good team, but shown that they can mess around. But after that, they play the Texans, the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and then the Titans again, which is a very late game in the year now that I'm looking at it. But they've got a set of 4 or 5 games that could be really tough for them. Yeah. And so I think that, and like we talked about, the Texans don't have a very good schedule coming up. They could roll off, 5 or 6 wins and get to 10 wins this season and stuff like that. Out of the AFC East, I have the Dolphins. And just because I think they're going to be similar like the Cowboys last year and the year before, to where they're going to beat the bad teams and then sneak a couple of like okay teams out. And it shows that they're not very good against good teams. But I just think the Bills are not great right now. And I don't see them making a push. And then AFC West, I got the Chiefs. I think it's pretty hard to stray from that.
Yeah.
I think that one's kind of a lock, and I think anybody trying to make a hot take right there is just an idiot. So I've got AFC North, the Ravens, AFC South, the Texans, AFC East, the Dolphins, AFC West, the Chiefs. I don't think 3 of those 4, I think, are pretty predictable. The Texans are my only hot take.
There you go. I like it. All right, let's move on to the NFC.
All right, so I've got NFC North, South, East, and West. We're going to start in the NFC North, and I feel like this one's probably the biggest lock out of my other divisions, but it's the Lions. If you look at who the Lions play in the second half of the season, they don't play almost anybody. And I'm about to read this to you. So they have the Bears, the Packers, the Saints, the Bears, the Broncos, the Vikings. Then they finally play the Cowboys right before New Year's, and then the Vikings again. That is probably one of the easiest schedules going into the last part of the season. I mean, if you look at who they're playing nobody. They play the Bears twice. They play the Packers, who they absolutely routed in like week 4. And I think the only hard game on the schedule is the Cowboys and maybe the Broncos, the way they're playing. But, I mean, I think the Cowboys beat them. But I only see one potential loss and I mean, the NFL's the NFL. You got to play a game every week, but I don't see the Lions losing a lot of games out of that. So this team is electric offensively and should have a good enough defense to compete with everyone they play for the rest of the year, and I expect them to lock up their division pretty easily. But I do not think that this defense is good enough to stop good teams. I think this defense can get gashed. They will make the playoffs, but I think eventually they'll run into somebody, hopefully Dallas, in the playoffs that will outscore them or just make their offense stall. So I've mentioned to Jared a couple times, this is the team that when Dallas makes the playoffs, this is the team that I would want to play. I feel like we are their kryptonite. We have every number we can against them. So yeah, my lock for them as of now is the NFC North, the Lions. Now the NFC South, this one was a lot harder. This is the shit division of the NFC. I picked the Saints. I just want to throw up picking that. We've talked about them enough on this podcast. And I just can't stand to watch how they play. It's very hard to watch. But it's like I've said it 1,000 times. It's embarrassing to have all of that and to be that bad.
Yeah.
But what's even more embarrassing is this division. So I think they make the playoffs, and then if Dallas ends up getting the first seed, this is who they will play, and Dallas will smoke them. This will be like this will be like a warm-up game for Dallas and like the wild card. But yeah, I mean, whoever comes out of this division is going to be a first-round exit. None of them can keep up with a good team. So, and then we're going to come down to the NFC East, and I have the Eagles winning this division. Tough choice, but I just believe they are able to win big games that Dallas has not been able to prove that they can win yet. Granted, Dallas has only played 2 tough opponents so far, and in both of those games, the Niners game, we try and live and forget. But the Eagles barely edged out a win against Dallas, but they're 8-1. They've got a really tough next 4 games that will be the true test for them. They've really played nobody as well. So I think it'll be close, but Dallas will fall short, I think, at the end. It wouldn't be the case if they did beat the Eagles. I think that if Dallas beat the Eagles, my pick here would be Dallas, but I just feel like that and the Cardinals game are going to be the 2 games that Dallas is going to look back on and go, damn, we should have won those games.
Yep.
So it will be close, but I think the Eagles will edge it out by 1 or 2 games.
Yeah,
And,
the Eagles have the Chiefs, and then 6 days later they play the Bills, and then they play the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. That's their next 5 games. That's a tough selection right there.
Watch them go 4-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Nobody's talking about it, but if you go look at who they've played this year, the Eagles have only played the Dolphins and the Cowboys. And then, they played the Patriots, the Vikings, the Bucks, the Commanders, the Rams. They lost to the Jets. And then they played the Dolphins, Commanders, and the Cowboys. And the Dolphins and the Cowboys, they handled the Dolphins pretty easily. But, I've been saying Dolphins are candy ass. And then the Cowboys should have beat them. It was just a game of inches. So, that will be the true test to tell you if the Eagles, like I've been saying, are not the same team, or are they going to continue their reign of being the best. So, all right, next we've got the NFC West. This one's a pretty easy pick for me. I feel like the Niners are going to they'll handle this division pretty easily. Right now, the Seahawks are right behind them. In terms of scheduling, I think they're they're
both
6-3.
Yeah, and the Seahawks actually have a negative point differential.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The Niners are 6-3. The Seahawks are 6-3. The Niners have a plus 109 differential, and the Seahawks have a -1. So the Seahawks are like your new Minnesota Vikings of last year.
Exactly.
I think it's a pretty easy pick here. I believe the Seahawks are frauds. I think they're just good enough to beat teams, the bad teams, but not good enough to beat the great teams. I think the Niners get on a roll. They just got off the bye, got everybody healthy, and they get back into form to wrap up their season. Out of these teams and who we think are going to be winning these divisions, I think about the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. I think Dallas will make the playoffs. But if you want to rank these teams and teams I don't want to see, number one would be the Niners. I've been saying it forever. They're a kryptonite. I don't think I've told Jared this off air, but they're the team that I don't think Dallas can beat. I think they just have the formula that Dallas can't figure out, and then they have us figured out to a T. The next team that I would not want to see, or that everybody else, I feel comfortable playing. I feel comfortable playing the Eagles. But the number one team I want to play is the Lions. I just feel like the Lions, like I said earlier, we are like the Lions to us, I feel like, are what the Niners are to the Cowboys. The Lions to us, we just have the perfect script to beat them. I think that there's no shot that, we'll see in December, but I just feel like if we played the Lions, we would roundhouse the Lions. So I don't know why. I've watched them play, and I watch what Dallas plays, and I just really like that matchup. So, just to recap, NFC North, I got the Lions. NFC South, I got the Saints. NFC East, you got the Eagles, and the NFC West, the Niners.
Very nice. That is your NFC, AFC divisional predictions for this season. We'll see how they play out, and we'll revisit it later in the year. Then we got the rookies, the rookie MVPs by the Rook, and we'll start with the offensive side of the ball, and these are ranked from gold being 3, diamond 2, platinum 1 being the highest. And I'll do offense, and I'll move on to defense. So to start out at gold for your rookie MVPs is Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit running back. He's finally getting that snap count, back in TRAK. And, I know the return of David Montgomery still did stunt his performance. Jahmyr Gibbs, you can still see, has an incredible bounce. So he's in my gold category there. The honorable mention in this category was Bijan Robinson. I just don't like the way that they're utilizing him over there. And if you look at it, Jahmyr Gibbs has been much more explosive than Bijan Robinson has. My diamond ranking for the offense is Jordan Addison, Minnesota wide receiver. The alternative to this would have been Puka Nacua. However, Jordan Addison has basically put the team on his back at the receiver position over there for Minnesota since Justin Jefferson has been gone. I believe he has 7 touchdown receptions on the year, 6 or 7, which is very good for a rookie. He's been playing lights out, and he's had all these the quarterback switch with Dobbs and Jaron Hall for half a quarter, and he's up there in my diamond ranking. And then of course the platinum offensive rookie MVP is CJ Stroud boy, Strouder with Crowder, the Houston quarterback. He's just everything you want a quarterback to be, and he's been super exciting to watch. So shout out to CJ Stroud. His poise, the fact he doesn't turn over the football. He complements his defense well. He shares the football around to each of his featured weapons. He doesn't have much of a run game, even though he was assisted by it a lot in the Bengals game. But before then, it was 13 carries for 30 yards from Dameon Pierce. So, I mean, you can't say he has an effective run game. His offensive line is not that great. So, CJ Stroud, platinum, rookie MVP. Then we move over to the defensive side, this was much more difficult to kind of select. So I apologize if I'm a little off, but this is what I could find based on PFF rankings, based on the eye test, But the gold ranking for the defensive rookie MVP is Devon Witherspoon, the Seattle Seahawks cornerback. He's one of the highest rated PFF cornerbacks in the league as a rookie this year. And he's playing great ball over there, opposite side of Tariq Woolen. The diamond ranking for the defense is Christian Gonzalez, another cornerback who plays for the New England Patriots. However, he is on IR with a torn labrum. Before he was hurt, he was an incredible cornerback. He played exceptional, and that should not go unnoticed. And then my platinum defensive rookie MVP is Will Anderson Jr., Houston edge rusher. Look, he doesn't have a lot of help on that Houston front. It's really just him and a Cowboys washover, which apparently is the entire Houston Texans team, pretty much, or 30% of it. Malik Collins, over there. But Will Anderson Jr. he's not getting sacks, but he has the most pressures as a rookie so far this year. He had 8 in the previous game versus the Bengals, and he's balling out over there. He's going to be a stud, like we always say with Michael Parsons and other players like that. It's not just about sacks. It's about pressures. It's about tackles for loss. It's about run defense. It's the full thing. You're not just required to sack the quarterback over there. There are other responsibilities. So, Will Anderson Jr., you are my platinum defensive rookie MVP. But yeah, that kind of wraps up
Nice.
most of the episode. We've got our last quitting time track records of the week. I honestly was struggling to find one until I remembered that I shot a nice looking buck this past weekend, and it was a great hunt. It's a great time with the Analyst was there along with old Papa May, my dad. I had a great time up there, even though it was raining, but got myself a nice little 15-inch and a quarter spread, 8 or 9 point, and it was the deer that was on the camera that we were looking for, and that's my 5th deer that I've shot, 4th on the record, and
There we go.
I'm just playing.
There we go.
So anyway, it was a fun hunt, and I'm proud of the shot, and I can't wait to go down to South Texas and see if I can bag me another one with my compound bow and distribute the wealth of the deer meat to maybe some coworkers and stuff like that. So the fridge will be full in the Rooks apartment. So
Yeah, I actually heard from a source that was actually Ryan's deer.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
He reserved it.
I think I'm getting a call. Yeah, that was a Woj bomb. That it was actually Ryan's
Grant's
deer
bomb.
that you shot. Oh yeah,
Aubrey Heimer. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh no. Well, I'll go on and start my records of the week. Really, it's not necessarily a record or a number, but kind of lost in translation. And I've shouted out before, but not necessarily the whole thing. But we're going to go with the Dallas Stars. It's hockey season. They're about, I think, 12 games in right now, and they lead their division. And, they've made a couple of good signings this offseason. One of the guys they signed, Matt Duchene, from the Predators this past season. He's like a normally like a 20, 25 goal scorer, coming from kind of a bad team and whatnot. But the Dallas Stars, and I know these numbers are skewed compared to other sports, but they signed him on a 1-year, $3 million prove-it deal, and he has now gone 4 games in a row with a goal and multiple points. So that's looking like a big-time deal. And they actually won against Coyotes tonight. That's kind of what I was watching on my phone. That guy got his face dented in by a hockey puck. So
love the Stars, bro.
My record of the week is the Dallas Stars.
Let's get it. And to close us out, the analyst.
Yeah, mine's pretty interesting. Jacob's going to like this one.
Well,
my record of the week is the Sam Houston State Bearcats. They are 2-8 on the season. But we
I knew
are,
you shouldn't have drank, bro. I was like, he's about to laugh.
Yeah, we got our first conference win, or Conference USA win against Louisiana Tech, 42-27. We got 2 games left on the season. But, things are looking pretty down for the Bearcats. And, honestly, I really couldn't care less because I don't know. I can't stand the head coach. And
I won't be the fan until Keeler's gone.
Yeah. He's just – they got all hyped up and stuff this year, and watching them a couple of times, they've blown so many games. And
yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I have a good comparison for Keeler. Ron Rivera, the Ron Rivera of the Conference USA.
Yeah, he's just
caught up in the politics of football.
I'll save my
football.
Yeah, I'll save my thoughts, but yeah, my record of the week is that Sam Houston is 2-8 on the year for having a really strong year, and
yeah, the best 2-8 team in the country, man.
Yeah, you don't want to see us.
Yeah,
you don't want to play them.
Really, I've watched probably like 5 or 6 of their games because you just put shit on the TV to watch, and it's like, oh, Sam Houston's playing, and there's probably 3 or 4 games that could have easily been won by Sam Houston.
Yeah, one of them that my wife went to. I got home from whatever I was doing, and I turn on the TV and look at it. And it's like 24-13 in the third quarter, and I'm like, they'll blow this game. And I walk away, and my wife's texting me oh my God, they just let the quarterback get a 4th and 18. Oh my God, they just let him kick a field goal. We're going into overtime. Oh my God, they just blew it. They just gave the ball back to him. Oh my God, they have a chance to score. They try and score 4 times, and we lost. And I was like, I knew we were going to do that. So they've done that in 2 or 3 games where they've been up 2 or 3 scores and then end up losing. So
yeah. Exactly.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, that was your track records of the week. And that wraps up track 22. The archer finds his bow. Well, if you look on the bottom on the little ticker there, we've got all of our social media links and stuff on there. We got the Instagram at track.pod. We've got X, or formerly known as Twitter, at the TRAKpod, TikTok at track.pod or track.unscripted, whichever one you want to look. And again, on all of our social media accounts, we've got the link tree in our bio. So if you want to go on there, you can find us anywhere on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. So Shatter the Script with us every Wednesday. We'll be back maybe with a new format. Huh? We don't know. But always looking to improve. And the clips of the podcast will be returning this week. We've been going with some memes and stuff like that. We're going to continue doing that. But it's time to bring back the clips. We got to get the clips of the medical guy doing the injury analysis, the Russell Wilson charts. We're back. Just Christmas came early. That's all I got to say. Yeah. So
Shatter's full. Oh.
Shout out to True Brand for all the caps and the hat you had over there. The
West to East. West to East. Hunting Brand YouTube channel. Go check it out.
There we go. All right. Go bag yourself a deer, gentlemen. The rut is upon us. Chase deer, not women. And let's get it. Shatter the Script every week. Go Cowboys.
Go Stars.